We are here at the St. Rose's High Auditorium where we'll be witnessing the final round of the JOF Haynes Memorial Debating Competition. So 2 schools into the finals today, and that would be the Proposition, 3 Mile Secondary, and Mackenzie High as the opposition. Started in 1988, it's now 38 years, and the competition has been going strong. So we're going to see today who's going to be battling out and who will come out on top. Of course, there can only be one winner. So from this, we'll of course head over to the moderator so we can promptly begin the competition. Good luck to both schools today. Both teams come with your A game, and Guyana, let's cheer them on.
With all protocols observed, this program is now called to order. Good morning, students, teachers, special guests, judges, and most importantly, our debaters. My name is Rosalind Glasgow, and my responsibility this morning is to take you through today's agenda. As we proceed, I will now ask us all to stand and assume a position of reverence as we recite the words of the Universal Prayer, which can be found at the back of the program. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where this clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Please remain standing and assume the correct position as we recite the words of our national pledge. On the count of 3, 2, 3. I pledge myself to honor always the flag of Guyana, and to honor to my country, to love my fellow citizens, and to dedicate my energies towards the happiness and prosperity of Guyana. Thank you. You may have your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, today's competition is simply more than just a contest between 2 opposing schools or the presentation of opposing arguments. I would argue that today's competition is a celebration of intellectual curiosity, critical thinking, effective communication, and most importantly, respectful dialogue. Debate provides students with a unique opportunity to examine important issues, to expand on their research skills, to evaluate opposing thoughts and ideas, and to express themselves with confidence and clarity. I believe today we are going to witness a debate that is not just entertaining, but enlightening as well as informative. At this point of the program, allow me to welcome Mr. Sherwin Blackman, who is the ACO Secondary, to welcome you to today's session. Please give him a warm welcome as he comes.
Thank you very much, moderator. Let me acknowledge my colleague ACO, Ms. Barnes, the other officers of secondary sector, our most learned judges, who I know has a very important task here today. Of course, our debaters, I see them ready to go. Lots of excitement on their faces to get these arguments through. And so let me quickly get into my task to say a warm welcome to each and every one of you as we celebrate this, our finals for the JOF Haynes debating competition, which is our 2025-2026 edition. The debate over the last few weeks has definitely been an exciting one, where we've seen some very close calls in terms of final finishing. And I know both teams would have had your share of excitement to bring you to this point of the finals. And so I want to welcome each and every one of us here today as we debate this very important moot, the implementation of universal basic income from oil revenue is the most effective way of eliminating poverty in Guyana. And of course, I'm excited to hear these arguments, which will be put forward by 3 Mile Secondary as the proposition and Mackenzie High as the opposition. If my memory serves me right, you guys are almost neighbors, just from a different angle. All right, and those persons who normally travel through Bartica to get to Linden, I know you recognize that it's not very far from each other. So you're almost family, all right? So while you debate, and I know you have your arguments that you're going to be very strong on, remember at the same time that this is a healthy debate. And so what we will expect is that you articulate your points, you demonstrate your competence in your presentation, but remember at the end of it all, we are still one family. Welcome to the JOF Haynes Debating Competition 2025-2026. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blackman. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now turn our attention to the two teams that will be competing in today's debate. On the proposition side, we have 3 Miles Secondary School, and our first speaker is none other than Richard Mohabir. Mr. Richard, you may come and have your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a responsibility as the audience, and that responsibility is to encourage them with applause as they come forward. Our second speaker for the proposition team is none other than Maya Shanks. And our third speaker for the proposition team is Bhavani Sicharan. Our substitute speaker for the proposition team is Akiva Kurika. Give her a round of applause as she waves. As I look to the proposition team, I see faces of determination. Ladies and gentlemen, give them another round of applause. And now for the opposition team, Mackenzie High School, coming all the way from Linden, the mining town. And our first speaker is Nefaya Farrell. Our second speaker, Tahir Gomes. And our third speaker, Ria Prasad. The substitute speaker for the opposition team is none other than Joy Clark. Joy. Please acknowledge her as she raises her hand. She's in the audience there. Ladies and gentlemen, might I remind you that a debating team comprises 4 members. However, 3 members are allowed to speak. In the event that something unfortunate happens, and hopefully that does not happen today, then the substitute speaker will be willing and ready to take the podium. As I look to the opposition team, I see eager and enthusiastic faces smiling at me. Now I must move on to some very important persons for today's competition. And those persons are our judges. This morning, it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce the esteemed panel of judges who will adjudicate today's competition. Ladies and gentlemen, the role of a judge in a debate extends far beyond simply determining the winner. As a matter of fact, judges are responsible for carefully assessing each speaker's argument, the quality of evidence provided, logical reasoning, rebuttals, organization, and delivery. And might I also add the overall effectiveness in addressing the topic. The responsibility requires fairness, objectivity, keen observation, and a deep appreciation for the art of persuasive communication. And this morning, we are indeed fortunate to have a panel of individuals whose experience and expertise make them exceptionally qualified for this task. So at this time, allow me to introduce our panel of judges. Our first supporting judge is none other than Mr. Keith Sampson. Mr. Keith Sampson, and he is the head teacher of Tushin Secondary School. And might I also add that he is no stranger to debating competitions. So I might say that he is a seasoned judge. Our second supporting judge is none other than Miss Martina Byrne. Miss Martina is the head of department, St. Joseph High School, and she also is a seasoned judge. And now, I would like to specially acknowledge our chief judge. And her responsibility this morning is not just to adjudicate, but she will oversee the process. And at the conclusion of today's presentation, she will provide feedback or criticism, constructive criticism, which will enable the teams, whether you win or lose, it will enable the team to be stronger for upcoming debates. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our judges. And before I move forward, I must acknowledge a very important person, the person who has the authority over the clock this morning. And she is none other than Miss Tamika Johnson. She is our timekeeper. She serves as an education officer at the National Center of Educational Resources Development, NSERD. Ms. Tamika Johnson. Did I miss anything? Yes, I did. What is a competition without rules? So at this time, I'll call on the organizer for today's proceedings, Mr. Sheldon Granville, who will give us some housekeeping rules. These rules, they guide the competition. Please welcome him as he comes.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. I think I was listening keenly to the introductions, and I can't remember hearing the name of the Chief Judge with Scarlett Horatio, who is no stranger to these realms, debates, elocution competitions, anything that has to do with rhetoric and the spoken word. She's always present. Retired literacy officer. So she's in the right place. In fact, she's one of my beyond seasoned, I should say, judges. I can always call on her, especially at these forums. And she's always functioned as one of my chief judge. Now for some housekeeping rules. As the moderator mentioned earlier, each team has 4 members. Only 3 are allowed to speak or to debate. They should belong to the same school, and on extreme circumstances, the substitute takes the place of any of the other speakers. The first speaker is allowed to debate for 6 minutes, the second speaker 5 minutes, the third speaker 4 minutes. And we made a change this year to allow 8 minutes for preparation of the rebuttal. Previously, for as long as I can remember, it was 5 minutes. So it's now 8 minutes. And the rebuttal runs for 5 minutes. During the debate, when the debate commences, the first speaker of the proposition begins the argument, and in the rebuttal, the first member of the opposition commences the rebuttal phase. Speakers may refer to notes, but are not allowed to read them. And of course, the judges, based on our score sheet, the judges will take necessary actions if there is evidence of such. This year, we've made consultation with our judges. I have a pool of judges, actually. And we would have reviewed the score sheet to ensure that we capture all of the nuances that debates encourage. And from this year, there are 4 broad categories under which the debate will be judged. I'd just like to mention a few of them. On the content, the debaters will be judged on the presentation of argument, the development of those arguments, and especially this year, the thesis link and citations. On the style, the debaters will be judged on enunciation, grammar, posture, or gesticulation, and engagement with the audience. What is a debate without engaging your audience? On the organization of arguments, the debaters will be judged on individual development as well as team development. And for the rebuttal category, the debate will be judged on accuracy, validity of a rebuttal argument, organization, and enunciation. And as I said earlier, only the first speaker of each team is allowed to rebut. And I must mention at this time that no arguments or materials should be introduced into the rebuttal. And of course, the judge's decision is final. Before I go, I'd just like to mention, to guide the process, the judges will indicate to the timekeeper that they are ready for the presentations. Timekeeper, the first ring of the bell will indicate to the speaker that they should commence. The second ring of the bell indicates that you have 1 minute remaining, and the third ring of the bell indicates to the speaker that your time is up. However, I should mention that the third ring doesn't mean that you end your presentation abruptly. It's just an indication of your time. So just bear that in mind. So our proposition and opposition, all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Granville. Now, before we get into today's competition, I would like to take this opportunity to remind you, the audience, of your responsibility. And your responsibility is to encourage each speaker as they come forward to present their arguments, regardless of the team that you're supporting. Now, without any further ado, I will now call on the first speaker of the proposition team to make his presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Richard Mohabir.
Astute judges, fellow intelligent members of the proposition, worthy members of the opposition, patient timekeeper, special invitees, enraptured audience. I, Richard Mohabir, the first speaker of the proposition, rise here today to affirm the Moot, which states, and I quote, the implementation of a universal basic income from oil revenues is the most effective way to eliminate poverty in Guyana, end of quote. In an effort to achieve our team's objective, I, the first speaker of the proposition, will be examining the Moot from the perspective surrounding direct, immediate, and equitable wealth distribution. Our second speaker, Mia Shanks, will approach the Moot through a concept of economic empowerment and human capital flight prevention. While our final speaker, Bhavani Sicharan, will culminate our team's argument by examining maximum administrative efficiency and dignity in welfare, funded through oil revenues. Erudite judges, please permit me a few moments to define the key terms and phrases in the Moot, after which I will redefine the Moot in aid of bringing clarity to you, our listenership. Our first term is Universal Basic Income, or UBI. According to the United Nations Development Program, or UNDP, this refers to regular cash payments provided unconditionally to all citizens, regardless of their employment status or income level. Oil revenues refer to income generated by the state from the extraction and sale of petroleum resources. Our second term, effective, can be defined as producing the desired result. Our third term, eliminate, means to completely remove or put an end to something. Our fourth and final term, poverty, according to the World Bank, refers to a condition where individuals lack sufficient income and resources to maintain an acceptable standard of living. Perspicacious judges, given the meanings of the above terms, our team has simplified the Moot to mean, and I quote, the best way to end poverty in Guyana is to give every citizen a guaranteed share of the country's oil wealth, end of quote. Sagacious judges, Guyana is currently experiencing unprecedented economic growth due to its petroleum industry. According to the World Bank 2025, Guyana continues to rank among the world's fastest growing economies because of oil production. Yet despite this wealth, many Guyanese families still struggle with the rising cost of living, inadequate income, and limited economic opportunities. Judges, this brings us to a fundamental question. If the oil belongs to the people of Guyana, why should only some people experience its benefits while others continue to live in poverty? Our answer is simple. Universal basic income ensures that every citizen receives a direct and equal share of the nation's oil wealth. My first argument is that universal basic income provides immediate poverty relief. Unlike infrastructure projects, grants, or government programs that may take years to reach citizens, UBI places money directly into the hands of every Guyanese citizen. Families do not have to wait for a road to be built, a program to be approved, or an agency to process applications. According to the United Nations Development Program 2024, direct cash transfers are among the most effective tools for reducing poverty because they empower recipients to address their own needs. Food, transportation, school supplies, medication, or housing supports are all provided by UBI. Furthermore, universal basic income ensures equitable wealth distribution. Worthy opponents. Oil is not produced by a single village, race, profession, or social class. It is a national resource belonging to all Guyanese citizens. Therefore, the benefit derived from that resource should be shared among all Guyanese citizens. According to the International Monetary Fund, IMF 2024, resource-rich countries often face growing inequality when revenues are concentrated across a small segment of the population. A universal basic income prevents this by ensuring that every citizen receives an equal share of the nation's wealth. Worthy opponents, let us be honest. Traditional poverty alleviation programs often involve complex application processes, eligibility, requirements, administrative delays, and opportunity for political favoritism. A universal basic income eliminates these barriers because it is universal. Every citizen receives it. There is no discrimination, no bureaucracy, and no uncertainty. This makes UBI substantially fairer. Judges, a country's economy can grow rapidly while many citizens remain poor. Economic growth is beneficial, but unless the benefits reach ordinary people directly, poverty may persist despite national prosperity. Erudite judges, having established that a universal basic income funded by oil revenues is the most direct, immediate, and equitable means of eliminating poverty in Guyana, I now take my seat and allow the second speaker to further demonstrate why this policy is the best path towards a more prosperous and equitable Guyana. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard Mohabir. As we await the judges, let us consider these words by Nelson Mandela, who said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Debate is one of the many ways education empowers us to examine issues, challenge assumptions, and contribute positively towards society. Through debate, students learn that meaningful change begins with informed decisions and thoughtful engagements. The ability to present ideas clearly, defend positions with evidence, and respectfully consider opposing views are qualities that strengthen not only individual character, but also democratic societies. In an age where information is readily available and opinions are abundant, it is increasingly important for young people to distinguish fact from fiction or fact from misinformation. It is important for them to think independently and to make reasoned judgments. At this time, I'll now call on the first speaker of the opposition team, Nefaya Farrell. Ladies and gentlemen, give her a warm welcome as she comes.
Every rope has two ends. The proposition holds one, we hold the other. The question is, honorable judges, is not which end looks more generous. The question is which end actually leads somewhere. Erudite adjudicators, attentive audience, I, Enough Lawyer Farrell, am the first speaker for the opposition. I define our terms, outline our case, and I begin, unusually, with someone who is not in this room. This chair is for Maya. She's 14, Region 9, no qualified secondary school teacher. Clinic 3 hours away. The grant did not go to Maya. Transfers go to citizens 18 and older. The grant, however, went to her mother, 200,000 Guyanese dollars delivered by a government team because residents have no banking access, according to Guyana Chronicle, April 2026. The money arrived, the road did not, the teacher did not, and Maya is still waiting. Attentive audience, if poverty is a problem of income and the income arrived, then why is Maya still in poverty? Learned judges, 4 definitions matter today. Universal Basic Income, UBI, by Paris and Vanderbilt, 2017, is a regular cash income paid to all on an individual basis without means test or work requirement. Oil revenues per Guyana's Natural Resource Fund Act of 2021 is finite, volatile, and non-renewable. A government can raise taxation next year, but it cannot raise oil revenues by an act of parliament. One generation, one chance. According to the Inter-America Development Bank 2024, 58% of Guyana's population is in poverty. Gross domestic product grew 43.6% in 2024, still 58%. If poverty were a revenue problem, that growth would have changed it. It has not. Most effective means the greatest permanent reduction across income, assets, and capabilities per dollar invested. Nobel laureate Emeritus framework adopted by the United Nations Development Program and World Bank. Proposition: UBI wins income. However, we win assets and capabilities 2-1. Now apply those definitions into the motion. The proposition must defend that unconditional cash from a non-renewable windfall produces the greatest permanent reduction across all 3 dimensions in a country where the income already exists and 58% still remains poor. That is the moot. This is the debate. Learned, our thesis is this. UBI addresses 1 dimension. Investment addresses all 3 and outlasts the oil. My second speaker will prove what cash cannot reach: assets and capabilities. My third speaker will bring the answer that proposition has never sought. Learned judges, a doctor who treats every broken leg with a painkiller and sends them home only reduces the pain. The leg is still broken. That is UBI. It reduces the pain of poverty, but it does not set the fracture. The World Bank's 2018 Aspire analysis confirms targeted investment outperforms universal transfers 3-1 per dollar in comparable oil-dependent economies, including Trinidad and Tobago, because targeted spending reaches a specific constraint, blocking each household's exit from poverty. A flat transfer does not. Honorable judges, Guyana tested this twice, in 2024 and in 2026. Both times, hinterland communities could not access the banking system. Checks printed, teams deployed. This is a delivery warning written in 200,000 Guyanese denominations. Minister Barrett, Natural Resources, Kaiser News, 30th of September 2025, and I quote, "It is a failed model. We will simply have a country where expats and foreigners dominate because our locals are sitting back, waiting on their cash transfer." End quote. Finance Minister Singh, Guyana Chronicle, 14th of December 2025, and I quote, "Cash grants will be a part of a much bigger and wider range of policies." End quote. President Ali, Stabrook News, January 2025, and I quote, Some people would tell everybody we will give you another cash grant, which is not sustainable. End quote. 3 voices, 1 verdict. Honorable judges, investment, not UBI, is the most effective way to eliminate poverty in Guyana. Now, proposing friends, for 30 seconds, you're Maya's mother. She is 16. The grant has been cleared, so Maya qualifies for nothing. Nearest bank in Letem, no account. 10,417 checks printed in your region because the system could not reach you. What does that notification permanently remove from her life? Honorable judges, what we all know, it's not the teacher, still absent, not the road, still a dirt track, not the clinic, still 3 hours away. The income arrived, but the structural conditions of poverty did not move by a single centimeter. Our second speaker will show you what these oil dollars do when invested rather than distributed, and why that difference is precisely what most effective demands. Honorable judges, the proposition is generous, but generosity is not a strategy. Haste makes waste, and waste makes want. For the opposition, we proudly oppose this motion.
As the judges tally their scores, allow me to acknowledge the teachers who would have worked with both teams as coaches to prepare them for today's competition. For the proposition team, I would like to acknowledge Ms. Shania Straker. She is an English teacher attached to 3 Miles Secondary School. Ms. Straker, thank you for your contribution towards the students' debating skills. And for Mackenzie High School, we have the head of department, Ms. Shemaine Rogers. Ms. Rogers, thank you for working with our students. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most overlooked aspects of debating is listening. Great debaters are not simply strong speakers. They are attentive listeners who carefully analyze opposing arguments before responding. Might I also add that effective listening is often what separates a good student from an exceptional student. Why am I saying all this? Because I do trust that while your teacher is teaching, you are listening attentively. As we prepare to welcome the second speaker of the proposition team, I urge you to listen attentively to the arguments put forward by each speaker. And of course, you all can function as the fourth judge in this competition. At this time, allow me to call on the second speaker of the proposition team, Maya Shanks, to present her arguments.
I am now convinced the simplest solution to poverty is to abolish it directly by a new widely discussed measure, the guaranteed income. These powerful words from Martin Luther King, 1967, resonate deeply with today's moot. Simply put, guaranteed erase worry and the what if factor. They create confident individual who takes space in their desired fields. Impartial judges, precise timekeeper, special invitees, fellow members of the proposition, opponents of the opposition, audience all. I'm Mia Shang, second speaker of the proposition, come here today to propel my team's argument and further convince you of the moot, which states the implementation of universal basic income from oil revenue is the effective way to eliminate poverty in Guyana. I will do this by discussing how this initiative can significantly empower citizens economically while retaining human resources locally. Firstly, let us recognize that poverty is not just lack of money. It is instead a barrier that block access from basic human rights, such as housing, education, and healthcare. This is according to the Shorter et al. 2023 Universal Basic Income, or UBI, directly reduces these barriers by providing every citizen with a guaranteed financial floor. Imagine a mother who no longer worries whether she can provide for her child, if she can afford school fees or food for her child. Without that financial stress, she can be a better parent. Her child can be a better learner. Her child not suffering from hunger becomes better in school. The pattern is clear discerning judges. UBI strengthen families and build foundation for success. Worthy opponents, this is not speculation, but facts. Evidence from around the world reveal the transformative power of UBI. A study conducted by Evelyn L. Forget, 2011, found that participants of the Canadian Mincome trial were more likely to complete high school than counterparts not involved. In the trial, thus eradicating these barriers, citizens are free to make waves in the economy. Beyond individual improvements, UBI encourages entrepreneurship and local economic development. Many talented people hold back from launching businesses because they lack initial resources. Oftentimes, dreams are sacrificed for immediate survival. With a guaranteed income, fear disappears. One can invest in office supplies, prototype development, and marketing without the constant worry of financial collapse. Prospective judges, the human resource would stay in Guyana, build and contribute to their communities rather than feeling forced to migrate for the sake of betterment. Guyana itself would become the betterment. Esteemed colleagues, I know you may argue that UBI could be short-lived or costly. However, as statistics shows, by the time the program ends, citizens will acquire skills, create businesses, and build assets. The sustain higher standards of living independently. According to Rushmini et al., 2021, UBI minimizes psychosocial stressor to create a more thrivable society. It now becomes clear that UBI is an investment in human potential, fueled by Guyana's oil wealth, wealth that belongs to its people. As I close, I want you to remember that the universal basic income is to abolish poverty while we ever choose. If we have the resources to abolish poverty, why would we ever choose anything less for our people? Thank you.
While the judges tally their scores, allow me to acknowledge the presence of our Chief School Inspector, Miss Renita Barnes. Miss Renita, if you can give us a wave. Students, did you know that public speaking is consistently ranked among the most valuable skills sought by universities and employers? Did you know that? Activities such as debating help students develop confidence, leadership, and the ability to present ideas clearly and persuasively. Public speaking is a skill that extends far beyond the debate. Whether presenting a project in a classroom, participating in a job interview, leading a team meeting, or addressing a community gathering, the ability to communicate effectively is an invaluable asset. Strong communicators are often better equipped to inspire others, advocate for their ideas, and navigate professional and personal challenges with confidence. Might I also add that debating provides students with a safe and supportive environment in which to develop these skills. It encourages them to organize their thoughts, to think on their feet, to respond to questions under pressure, and to speak with clarity and conviction. These experiences help to build self-assurance, and resilience. And these qualities are essential for a successful life. At this time, please join me in welcoming the second speaker for the opposition team, Tahir Gomes.
The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Guyana has the oil and a decision to make. How do you build a road with a check? A pleasant morning to you, impartial adjudicators, vocal proposition, and my attentive audience. My first speaker said the test. The term most effective means the greatest reduction across all three dimensions of poverty, using oil revenues that cannot be replaced. I, Tahir Gomes, have two tasks: close the escape route and prove investment wins on assets and capabilities. Oil fills the well. It does not build the house. The proposition will argue, fix the banking infrastructure and UBI works. That concedes our case. What fixes banking infrastructure? Investment, the very model we are proposing. The same oil revenues cannot fund both initiatives. Proposition, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. Oil revenue is finite. In 2020, global prices fell 30%. A government can raise taxation next year. An act of parliament cannot create more oil revenue. The motion concerns oil revenues. That reality works against the proposition. There are two ways to help a hungry community: hand out food or give them seeds and land. One feeds them today. The other builds prosperities for generations. UBI is the food handout. Investment is the seed. An average 150,000 Guyana dollars transfer is consumed by food, transport, and utilities. Once spent, it is gone. A mortgage requires collateral. Collateral requires an asset. The transfer does not break that cycle. A government land title does. Since 2020, over 30,000 house lots have been allocated. Ministry of Housing and Water 2024. Each plot appreciates, generates collateral, and builds, or should I say, set the foundation for intergenerational wealth. Poverty is not merely the absence of money. It is the absence of ownership. On asset, investment wins. Who gains more from a free public school? The wealthy family with private alternatives, or the child whose community has no qualified teacher? The answer is obvious. The poor gain the most when public services improve. Guyana's 2025 education budget, 175 billion Guyana dollars. Healthcare, 143.2 billion Guyana dollars. These create schools, clinics, and professionals that serve communities year after year. A teacher exists next year. A clinic exists next year. A scholarship changes a life for decades. A cash transfer consumed this month does not. Investment expands capability. UBI expands consumption. On capabilities, investment wins. Guyana Chronicle, April 2026. Over 10,000 hinterland payments require physical government teams and paper checks because banking access does not exist. The proposition's most effective system sends civil servants into the rainforest with paper checks. That is not a poverty solution. That is an administrative workaround. $1.20. What a UBI dollar returns in Guyana's import-dependent economy, CDB 2021? $2 to $4. What infrastructure investment returns? IDB 2021, 134th. Guyana's global infrastructure ranking, World Bank 2024. Same oil dollars, one decision. The Regional Development Fund directs resources to the regions with the greatest need. Communities identify the roads, schools, and clinics they require. In 2024, billions went into the hinterland infrastructure, not temporary transfers. The fund builds the cinema in Aishalton. And guess what? In 2018, the people of Aishalton were not asking for a cinema. They were asking for a road. On assets, investment wins. On capabilities, investment wins. The motion asks for the most effective use of oil revenues. By that standard, the only standard that matters today, the opposition wins. Mouth open, story jump out. My third speaker will let the poor tell you themselves.
Thank you, Tahir. While the judges deliberate, allow me to provide some information regarding the JOF Haynes debating competition. And if you take a look at your program, you will notice the headline reads, JOF Haynes Memorial Inter-Secondary Schools Debating Competition 2025-2026. And that is an indication that the competition started in 2025 with the regional teams or schools across the regions. And after every competition, one school would have emerged the winner for that respective region. And so for Linden or Region 10, we have Mackenzie High School, and for Region 7, we have 3 Miles Secondary School. Now, the inter-regional competition, which is the competition you're witnessing, this is the final round of the inter-regional competition. The competition was launched on the 28th of April 2026. The Moot for that competition reads, the implementation of the Safe Road Intelligence System, SRIS, is a more effective deterrent for road accidents in Guyana than physical police presence. And proposing that moot, we had North Rumveld Secondary, and opposing that moot, we have Mackenzie High School. And obviously, the winner for that competition was none other than Mackenzie High School. At this time, allow me to welcome the third speaker of the proposition team, Bhavani Sicharan.
Honorable judges, ladies and gentlemen, throughout this debate, one word has remained at the center of this motion: effective. Not possible, not beneficial, not helpful. Most effective. My first speaker would have looked at the mood from a wealth distribution point of view, and my second speaker from an economic perspective. As the third speaker for the proposition, I, Bhavani Sitran, will demonstrate why a universal basic income funded by our revenues is not merely another anti-poverty policy, but the most effective one, because it is operationally superior to traditional welfare systems and because it restores dignity to ordinary Guyanese citizens. The opposition will undoubtedly tell you that government's welfare programs already exist. They will point to grants, subsidized, and targeted assistance schemes. However, the existence of a program does not make it effective. The reality is, poverty is often not caused by a lack of government programs. It is caused by people not having enough money in their pockets to meet their daily needs. Traditional welfare systems suffer from three fundamental weaknesses: bureaucracy, corruption, and dependency traps. Firstly, let us look at bureaucracy. To determine who qualifies for targeted assistance, governments must create entire administrative structures. Officials must process applications, verify income levels, conduct assessments, investigate claims, review documents, and continually monitor recipients. Every delay means families continue struggling. In fact, the government's 2024 and 2025 cash grant initiatives distributed oil-funded payments directly to citizens, proving that large-scale direct transfer are both feasible and administratively achievable. According to an article published by Newsroom 2025, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, praised Guyana's use of cash transfers. I quote, "The careful management of oil revenues is playing a crucial role in ensuring sustainable growth. There is no opportunity to favor one citizen over another because every citizen is treated equally." Auspicious judges, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present my final point. Targeted welfare often traps people in poverty. Imagine a struggling Guyanese parent receiving assistance because they are unemployed. They find a small job or begin earning slightly more income. Suddenly, they lose access to benefits. What message does that send? Work hard and you may lose the support you depend on? A universal basic income eliminates that problem. Citizens continue receiving their payment whether they are employed or unemployed. Instead of punishing progress, UBI encourages it. Finally, let's talk about dignity. At its core, poverty is not simply the absence of choice, it is the absence of money, it is the absence of choice. Too often, government programs design programs based on what they think poor people need. But who better understands a family needs than the family itself? A universal basic income recognizes this reality. It says to every Guyanese citizen, we trust you. We trust you to decide what your household needs. We trust you to make responsible choices. We trust you to manage your own future. For operational superiority, for efficiency, and for the dignity of every Guyanese citizen. This House must affirm that the universal basic income funded by oil revenues is the most effective way to eliminate poverty in Guyana. I thank you.
The competition is quickly coming to a close. We have one speaker remaining, and that is the final speaker of the opposition team. While the judges deliberate and tally their scores, allow me to inform you of some of our regional champions for the JOF Haynes Memorial Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition 2025-2026. Now for Region 1, we had Santa Rosa Secondary. In their absence, I will ask you to show them some appreciation. For Region 2, Anna Regina Secondary. Now on the 29th of April, Anna Regina Secondary and Santa Rosa Secondary debated the Moot, and I read, secondary schools in Guyana should replace traditional printed textbooks with mandatory digital tablets to achieve educational equity. The regional champion for Region 3 is none other than West Demerara Secondary School. A team for which I coach the students, along with the other members of my department. For Region 4, Friendship Secondary. Region 5, Fort Wellington Secondary. Region 6, New Amsterdam Secondary. Obviously, Region 7, 3 Mile Secondary. Region 8, Cato Secondary. Region 9, Anai Secondary. And Region 10, you can name Region 10. Who was the regional winner for Region 10? Students, if you're paying attention, earlier I spoke about listening attentively. Anyone? Mackenzie High School. The judges are ready. And so now, allow me to invite the third speaker of the opposition team, Ria Prasad.
Who feels it, knows it. Not the economist, not the adjudicator. Maya in Region 9 knows. Learned judges, I am here to deliver a verdict. When I first read this motion, I agreed with it until IDB's report stopped me cold. 58% poverty, 43.6% GDP growth, still 58%. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. The proposition's model is right about income. It is wrong about everything else that keeps people poor. The proposition's argument is dignity. We respect the principle, but dignity is not a road. What is more dignified? A transfer the president called unsustainable, or a land title Maya owns, a school that exists next year, a road to market? Investment gives permanently. That is dignity. A check that expires with the oil prices is not. We share their principle. We reject their instrument. Scorecard. Proposition wins income. We win assets. Over 30,000 house lots since 2020, according to the Ministry of Housing, 2024. We win capabilities, 175 billion in education, 143 billion in healthcare, 2-1. Bharat Singh, the president, all said cash alone does not work. If it does not work, it cannot be the most effective approach. Honorable judges, here is a question the proposition has never answered in this entire debate. When did anyone ask the people in Shelton what they needed? Someone did. The Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative sent representatives into Regions 8, 1, and 9 in 2018. They asked. The answer was unanimous. Roads, schools, clinics. 6 years later, the checks came. In 2018, they asked for a road, a school, and a clinic. And in 2024, Guyana gave them... You finished that sentence. We all know what they received. It was not what they asked for. That silence is 6 years long. Region 9 still required physical teams and checks. Guyana Chronicle, April 2026. Poor roads still isolate those communities. World Bank, February 2025. The checks came. The road is still not there. Maya was 14 when the grant arrived, too young to qualify. The check went to her mother. She'll be 18 before UBI reaches her own hands. The road will still not be there without investment. The proposition sends another check. However, the opposition builds the road. My first speaker told you every rope has 2 ends. The proposition held theirs. A check, same road, same 58% poverty. We held the other. A road, a classroom, and a clinic. Maya is 16. She walks to school on the road we built, paid for with oil dollars that went into the ground, into the classroom, into the clinic, and stayed there. The Moot does not ask whether UBI helps. It asks whether unconditional cash from a non-renewable resource is the most effective way to permanently eliminate poverty across all 3 dimensions. In a country where the income already exists and the poverty remains, UBI addresses 1. Investment addresses all 3. We won this debate. Cash arrives, conditions remain. That is not elimination, that is postponement. Who feels it, knows it. Maya knows she never qualified for the check. She needs land she can own, a school that builds her capabilities, a road that takes her to a market, income, assets, all 3. The opposition addressed all 3. The proposition addressed 1. Every rope has 2 ends. Ours led somewhere. For the opposition, we proudly oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Ria. Now, this has brought us to the conclusion of the prepared aspect of the competition. And so I will allow the judges to deliberate, tally their scores. And in the meantime, both teams are allotted 8 minutes to prepare their final arguments, which we term the rebuttal. At the sound of the bell, your time starts now. Ladies and gentlemen, let us remember that debate is not simply about winning an argument. It is about the ability to think critically, to evaluate evidence, and to communicate ideas effectively. These are the skills that will benefit students throughout their personal as well as professional lives. And perhaps one of the greatest lessons debate teaches is the importance of engaging with ideas that are different from ours. In preparing for a debate, students must research thoroughly, consider multiple perspectives, and construct reasoned responses based on facts rather than assumptions. Whether they pursue careers in law, and how many of you want to become lawyers in the audience? Let me see, by raise of hand. So I'm looking at 2 prospective lawyers. How many of you want to pursue careers in the field of medicine? So I'm looking at a few doctors or general surgeons. I'm scanning your faces very carefully because in time of need, in the future, I'll be looking for you. How many of you want to pursue careers in education? Come on. At least one person? I refuse to believe this, so I'll ask again. How many of you would like to pursue a career in the field of education? Not one person. Why is this so? They say that teaching is a noble profession, so I hope someone reconsiders. How many of you intend to pursue careers in the field of business? So we have our businessmen and women here. How many of you intend to pursue careers in public service? And those would be our accountants and our secretaries. And yes, we have a few. So we have students who intend to pursue careers in law, in medicine, in public service, but no one in education. I hope that at the end of this session that someone reconsiders. Let me also remind you that today's competition represents far more than a contest. It is an opportunity for growth, for learning, and for the development of future leaders and informed citizens. And so, my final question to you, how many of you intend to pursue careers in politics? We have a few. All right, at this time, I'll give the judges some time to deliberate, and we wait on our very patient timekeeper who will signal at the penultimate minute that students, the first speaker of each team, you would have at this time just 1 minute to wrap up your presentation, then come to the podium and present your final arguments. The chiming of the bell indicates that your time is up. And so at this time, I'll ask both teams to stop writing, and I'll call on the first speaker of the opposition team, Nefila Farrell, to come present her final arguments.
Honorable judges, my team already showed you that UBI answers one dimension of poverty while investment answers all 3, and that you cannot renew oil revenues by an act of parliament. The proposition told you that cash is direct, fair, and fundable. Every one of those things is true, but not one of them is the same as most effective. Firstly, honorable judges, the first speaker of the proposition said that every citizen gets an equal share of the oil and give every citizen a guaranteed share of the money from the oil. But proposition, We have the fastest growing GDP, and still more than half of the country is still in poverty. Poverty, dear friends, is not only a lack of money. We have that. Therefore, UBI from oil revenues cannot be the most effective way to eliminate poverty when the income is already there, cash grants given twice, and the poverty isn't gone. Wise judges, their second speaker then went on to ask, if we have the resources to abolish poverty, why would we ever choose to not use them? It's a good question, because we respect the principle, but we reject their instruments. My third speaker offered the people of Guyana a more dignified solution, assets and capabilities, two of the three components necessary to eliminate poverty. Investment is the dignified and lasting approach. Additionally, their second speaker stated that UBI encourages entrepreneurship and economic talent. Yes, learned friends, cash creates economic activity, but inside a broken system. You can spend a transfer at the local market and still have no road, no teacher, and no clinic. That is not eliminating poverty. That's just moving money around inside the problem. The investment repairs the system. That is what most effective actually means. Finally, honorable judges, the proposition's third speaker has said that targeted programs involve bureaucracy, exclusion, error, stigma, and political favoritism. But, honorable judges, the proposition just said that UBI is simpler and more effective, but the government had to send those people on foot into the rainforest with paper checks. Again, opponents, targeted investment beats universal transfers 3-to-1 per dollar. That is not bureaucracy. That is the definition of most effective. In conclusion, adjudicators, the proposition told us that UBI is direct, universal, and fair. And they are right, it is. But the Moot asks what is the most effective at permanently eliminating poverty across income, assets, and capabilities, and a transfer that addresses one dimension and stops when the oil stops is not that. Every row past two ends. Theirs lead to a check and the same 58% poverty. Ours leads to a road, a classroom, a rope, and a clinic that stay there after the oil is gone. Cash arrives, conditions remains, and that is not elimination, that is postponement, which is why we, the opposition, proudly oppose this motion.
Thank you, Ms. Farrell. We will allow the judges some time to tally their scores and deliberate. But as we await, let me remind you that these students today would have invested considerable time researching their topics, preparing their arguments, and refining their public speaking skills. So, regardless of today's results, each participant deserves recognition for the courage and dedication required to stand before an audience and defend their position. So, at this time, let us give them some more encouragement with a round of applause. While the judges continue to deliberate, okay, the judges are ready. And so at this time, I would like to invite Richard Mohabir, first speaker of the proposition team, to present his final arguments. Give him a warm welcome.
Experienced judges, intelligent members of the proposition, most worthy members of the opposition, accurate timekeeper, special invitees alike, attentive audience. As I would have mentioned earlier, our oil revenue cannot be produced by a single sector. A group of workers on a work site won't manage that. To truly create equity among wealth distribution, these revenues should be directed toward the public. This allows Guyanese citizens to gain trust from their government, resulting in increased productivity. According to the International Monetary Fund 2024, resource-rich countries often face growing inequality when revenues are concentrated among a small segment of the population. Notice how I emphasized on concentrated. If we are to only limit ourselves to a small segment of the population, universal basic income cannot truly show. Your team speaks of investment, but my second speaker clearly says that with UBI, people will be able to invest in business, office supplies, prototype development, and marketing. Your second speaker also says investment is true. As my third speaker says, who knows, but the family needs better than the family themselves. Therefore, Lord Judges, I strongly encourage that you accept this proposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard Mohabir. And this has brought us to the end of today's competition. I believe that the teams deserve another round of applause. For participating in today's activity. Now today we would have witnessed not only a clash of ideas, but also a meeting of talented young minds from different regions of our country. Both teams would have earned their place on this stage, and both deserve our admiration for their commitment to excellence. Another round of applause for Team Mackenzie High School and Team 3 Miles Secondary School. Now, I'm going to do something. I'm going to circle back to my initial question. And hopefully, I do have someone in the audience with a change of heart. So I'm going to ask this question. I'm looking at the audience and I'm seeing smiling faces. So I'm sure that a few students would have changed their minds. So back to my question. How many of you intend to pursue a career in education? At least one hand. Mr. Blackman? Mr. Blackman, I think we have to do something about this. I'm going to ask again. Someone must reconsider. What is it that you've heard about the education profession or the education field? Now, they do say that teachers are responsible for every other profession. Don't you want to be responsible for every other profession? Our lawyers, our doctors, our public servants. Teachers are all responsible for molding the minds of these individuals. Mr. Blackman, would you want to encourage them? He says he will speak to you after the session. We will allow our judges to tally their scores, and they have a job that I do not envy this morning, to decide on the winner of this competition. And might I add that the winner of this competition will receive tokens of appreciation, and also the judges will announce the best speaker for today's competition. And now for the moment we have all been waiting for, the judges' decision. And to present the remarks, the comments, the recommendations, I will now call on Ms. Colette Horatio, who is the chief judge for today's proceedings. But before she comes to the podium, let me once again acknowledge our two supporting judges, Mr. Keith Sampson and Ms. Martina Byrne. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ms. Colette Horatio, the chief judge for today's competition.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Good morning, everyone. It's a little past morning. We had a wonderful time this morning. A brilliant debate, isn't that so? An enjoyable debate. Good debating, good use of rhetoric, and mostly good debating was here with us this morning. We just have a few comments for the benefit of both debaters and those of you in the audience who just might want to be thinking of participating in debating. It's something good to do. It helps you very much. So I would suggest that if you have never debated and you're in the audience, you should try it sometime. A few comments. We were greeted with lots of research and citation. Those were very good. They were generally relevant to the topic and helped to support the arguments presented. Language, which is sometimes a little bit of a problem in debates. Persons get excited and miss verbs and word endings and so on. Good language was on display this morning in most instances. We did not have too many slips. Engagement with the audience in some instances could have been better, but generally good. Good link. The ideas brought forward were well linked to the thesis statement. They told us what they were going to tell us about, how they understood, they told us how they understood the moot, and then they brought forward their ideas to support what they told us they were going to see. So that was extremely good. I think you should give the teams a rousing round of applause. They really did what debating is all about. However, a few things to watch if you, the audience, plan to debate, and if you, the presenters here this morning, plan to continue debating. Just a few things. Watch the excessive reading. Remember, the score sheet has a place for that. You can't read too much. You need to have an understanding of what you're going to say, and then you would raise your head up, look, engage everyone, and say it. In some instances, points were not fully developed, so you need to watch that. It is better to have not so many points and have time to develop them than to have 6, 7 points and not be able to develop them. And time management, you need to watch your time management as you debate. If you go over, the judges no longer listen to you. If you go under, you are not making the best use of your time. And last, but of still great importance, I want you, the debaters, to pay attention, especially it is usually said that the third debater mops up. However, that third debater must have a point, even if it's just one new point to bring to support the arguments that have already gone. So we were listening, so we know what the others said. You don't need to take all your time to tell us, to remind us of what they said. Okay? So you too have to have a point. So watch that, put a big dent, something like that puts a big dent in the scores. Now we are coming, I think that's all I would need to say. Don't want to talk too much, we had enough talking. We go now to identifying our best debater. In the opinion of the judges, Ms. Nafaya Farrell is our best debater. Was it unexpected? Y'all didn't come out spontaneously. You needed to warm up. Look you. So I'm going to announce it again. In the opinion of the judges, Ms. Nafaya, am I saying your name correctly? Nafaya? Or just let me say Ms. Farrell. Good? You can accept that? Yes. In the opinion of the judges, Ms. Farrell was our best debater. That's it. That's it. That is what I was looking for. Now for the results. The proposition gained 247 points, while the opposition gained 318 points. And those are our results, but I would like to take this opportunity to thank our debaters for doing such a great job this morning. I would also like to thank the teachers who worked with the students in order for us to have this wonderful debate this morning. And I would like to say to you, have a good rest of the day. Thank you for listening. One last thing, as usual, the teams would greet one another. So just go and give it up.
Congratulations to Mackenzie High School. I believe they deserve another round of applause. And this has brought us to the end of the competition. But before you leave, I would like to take this time to invite Mr. Sheldon Granville, who would do the presentation of awards. I'll call on the best speaker for today's competition, Nafaya Farrell. 20. Nafaya will receive a certificate valued at $20,000. I will now call on Ms. Renita Barnes to make this presentation. Ms. Barnes, please remain on stage. I'll now call on the second speaker of the opposition team. Let me inform you that all speakers will receive a gift certificate valued at $15,000. So the second speaker, Nafaya, I would like to invite you once more to the stage. And this time, you'll be receiving a gift certificate valued at $15,000. So 2 gift certificates for Nafaya. The second speaker of the opposition team, finally, the third speaker of the opposition, and I'd like to call on the substitute speaker. Although you did not present today, your job or your role is seen as quite important. And now for the proposition team, I'll call on the first speaker. And the opposition team will receive also a gift voucher valued at $10,000 each. The second speaker, and the third speaker, the substitute speaker, please prepare to come on stage to receive your gift voucher as well. At this time, we would like to also recognize the coaches for each team. So at this time, I'll call the coach for the opposition team, Miss Shemaine Rogers, and she will receive a gift voucher valued at $15,000. The coach for 3 Mile Secondary, Miss Shania Straker. These gift vouchers are thank you, Ms. Barnes. These gift vouchers are compliments of Ministry of Education, but they are redeemable at Giftland Office Max. Now for the special prizes. I'll call on our ACO Secondary, Mr. Sherwin Blackman. We have just a little change, so Mr. Blackman will ask you to just stand by. We would. Oh. At this time, I'll ask Mr. Blackman to present the plaque to the winning team, Mackenzie High School. I'd like to call on the substitute speaker to join your team on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe they deserve a resounding round of applause. Mr. Blackman, please remain on stage. I'll call on the opposition team. Sorry, the proposition team, 3 Mile Secondary, to receive their plaque as well. Mr. Blackman, please remain on stage as you will be responsible for distributing special prizes. I'll now call on the winner of the Ministry of Education JOF Haynes Memorial Inter-Secondary Schools Debating Competition, Mackenzie High School, to once again come forward to receive another token of appreciation. Each of you are asked to come forward. And just in case you're wondering what is in those bags, I'm told that it is something that you young students like. And that is what? What is it? Phones. Yes, you guessed right. Cell phones and accessories. Now I would like to call on the opposition team, Team 3 Mile Secondary, to come forward to receive your prizes. And they also will be receiving cell phones and accessories. this has brought us to the end of today's program.
All right, so today would have concluded the 2025-2026 leg of the JOF Haynes Memorial Inter-Secondary Schools debating competition, and it was a day. I know the tensions were high, the competition was stiff, it was tough, it was fierce, but you guys persevered and you're on top. So if you're now joining us on the live, Mackenzie High School are the 2025-2026 champions. It was a momentous task. Of course, they had to battle the crowd, and they also had to battle other elements of a debating competition. First speaker and best debater and winner were your school won. How does it feel? So before we proceed, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself, your school, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. All right? Good. And then I'm going to ask the group a question. So go ahead.
Hi, good day. My name is Nafloya Farrell, and I am from Mackenzie High School, the first speaker of the opposition.
All right. So before this ended, when you were looking at your opponents across the table, did you in your mind think that, hey, I would be best speaker, best debater, or we would win?
No, I didn't think I would have gotten the best speaker, but I was really ecstatic when I heard I got the best speaker, so I thank God for it.
Excellent. And to the team of Mackenzie High, what was the preparation like coming into the competition? So I know you guys made it all the way to the finals and then clinched the 2025-2026 title. So coupled with the experience you would have garnered throughout the tournament, how do you think that experience would have helped you today to clinch victory?
For me, this experience has taught me how to be confident in my own skin and also how to have an argument, like in a civil way, rather.
All right. And what was the preparation like before the tournament began?
The preparation was nerve-wracking, but we came through, we pulled through, we were confident in our abilities, and we roamed around with our experience, and just want to thank God.
Excellent. And we, of course, know that this was just the 2025-2026 leg. So will you guys be participating in the next leg?
I'm not sure, but our school will be represented, but we probably won't be the persons representing our school again.
All right. And I know that you were the substitute speaker, but they saw that you were engaged and you were focused. What were your thoughts looking on at the competition? And I know that you were cheering for your teammates as well. So what was going through your mind throughout the final battle?
My thoughts was that I was confident in my team, especially with the debate and the rebuttal. It were very strong points, and the rebuttal comeback was very strong and valid. So I had no doubt in my mind that we would win.
All right. And you all heard what the judges said. And it was the same, it was one of the things I was saying while I was looking on. Eye contact was, and will always be key. So the best thing to do whenever you finish writing your piece, you don't have to remember it verbatim or word for word. You remember it in points. If you say, I'm going to speak about past things that happened, that's all you need to remember. So you can expound on that. So you need to just remember one point, and then you can, give it in details off the top of your head. So instead of reading from a paper. So that's where points, that's one of the main things that points get deducted. It's like if you're performing on stage, you guys were. So crowd, eye contact with the judges, with your opposing team, with your side of the team as well. So ensure that you always maintain eye contact. So you may want to go on to do it after. So just remember, one key thing to maintain eye contact and not to rush it because your words may get jumbled. All right? So once again, congratulations to Mackenzie High School. You guys did an excellent job coming out as the winner of the 2025-2026 leg of the JOF Haynes Inter Schools secondary competition. Good luck, guys, and a safe journey home.